Today's topic is shame. Shame is one of the most difficult emotion to deal with. And if you're having a spiritual or Kundalini awakening, you will notice that you will experience certain things in your life which will cause you immense shame. And shame is one such emotion which stands, it just stays like a stamp. It is there like a stamp on our subtle system, and it becomes very difficult to get rid of this stamp, which is shame. So shame, how do we experience it in the spiritual awakening process, and which chakra is linked to this? We all are familiar with the 7 chakra system. So we have the sacral chakra or the Swadistana chakra. So the shame is linked to this chakra. And many people who are awakening, they deal with shame. There are many reasons why we come face to face with shame in the awakening process, because in the awakening process, a lot of repressed aspects within us, a lot of things within us which we are not very proud of, everything has to be dealt with and released from our system. As long as these things are there in our subtle system, we cannot be an awakened person. The shame will always pull us down into lower vibrational states. So when the shame is there in the subtle body, it will keep the person trapped in the lower egoic state or the lower conscious state. The person cannot rise up in consciousness. So everything that is there inside of your subtle system, which adds baggage to your being, that is shown to you in your spiritual awakening process, so that you allow that baggage to go away. For example, if you are in a hot air balloon, after rising up to a particular point, you will see that the balloon is again coming back down. You have to throw away few sandbags so that the balloon will again rise up, right? So the various negative emotions we experience in the process are like these sandbags. We need to throw them out. But when I say we need to throw them out, it is not that I am doing it. The process itself is designed to do it. So the process, anything that is there in your system which will keep you in lower vibrational states, that is shown to you again and again. And when that is shown to you again and again, it is the reason why it is shown to you again and again is for you to understand that you have that in your system, for you to acknowledge and be aware what you are carrying in your subtle system. It could be negative emotions, it could be negative feelings, it could be thoughts, it could be imaginations. You should know what you hold. And especially when the energy is working on these negative emotions, they come more to your awareness. You are more aware that incident again repeats. But here, when you don't sink back into shame, rather you look at that incident like a third person. Because when that incident again recurs in our mind, it feels like acid is being poured on old wounds. So it is normal to get triggered. It is normal to feel that, that kind of triggering that we feel, the kind of reaction, again the return of the same shameful sensations. For this, what we need to do is so that it gets wiped away from our system, and this does not happen at one time. This happens as a cyclical process where some past events come into your awareness. You see, you recall old experiences where you were shamed, or where you felt, like you were blamed, or you were feeling guilty, and a result of all that you were ashamed of yourself. You feel anger, you feel pain, you feel remorse, you feel like, you want to get back at all those people who did that to you. Sometimes maybe you were just plotted so that you could be shamed on purpose by people who have evil intentions. So when the incident again comes back to you, here when you watch it like a third person, it is very difficult the first few times when the incident comes into your mind. It is difficult because we are triggering the same emotions, and here we are dealing with the many dense emotions of the emotional body. But whenever you can take control of your inner world, and at least some part of the uh, activity, if you're able to step aside and look at it like a third person, maybe you are just standing there like somebody else and watching the situation. When you are in that witness mode, it allows the spiritual awakening or the Kundalini to clear away the stamp or the impression the shame has left on your subtle system. So here you're able to disconnect from the experience and look at it with a kind of a perspective which is very spiritually rooted. When you can do that, you will notice that over a period of time, your reactivity towards the same image, the same thought, the same memory, it gets less and less reactive. You're not reacting much. And then finally, even if that memory surfaces, you feel like it never happened to you. That is where the process is going to take you. And when you reach that state, that ignorance that shame has caused, the stamp that it has left on your subtle system is wiped away successfully and you are healed. So many people who are especially undergoing the spiritual awakening process, as part of tests, they will be shamed. Because their karma is burning fast, they have to face their inner negativity. It can be anger, it can be shame, it can be jealousy. You have to face all those things because you need to know what you're holding in your subtle system, and you should be able to release it without destroying others. So here you're releasing it constructively and not destructively. So many people who are awakening, they deal with shame. And the way it is experienced is because of your sadhana, because of the process, you might move into higher vibrational states, but then suddenly you will see that something will happen. Maybe somebody shames you, somebody insults you, and then suddenly you are pulled down in vibration. You feel like your energy it's lost. You start feeling weak. You feel like you can't show your face to anybody. And even if you are having low self-worth, or if you're having low self-esteem, when you are having these things with you, you will experience shame for everything. Even, you will sort of look at others' lives and your lives based on the societal norms of what is right and wrong. And then you will easily shame others, or you will shame yourself. For example, society has a lot of some things about intimacy, some things about how much man and woman can talk, how much they can mingle, and these things are there in every culture. So for example, if two people, if a man and a woman are just sitting and they're talking and just laughing, many people around them might think that they're having an affair. They may not be able to see that they are just genuine friends. And the reason for that is the societal constructs where they are. When they see a man and woman having a casual conversation, it is only allowed when they're husband and wife. So if there's somebody who's not a family member and with whom you're talking, it is frowned upon. In some places, people are punished for doing it. And all these acts are linked to shame. So the people, they create the societal constructs, and the basis for creating these norms is shame. And society uses shame as a tool to control others. So many homes, many elders, they use shame as a tool to control the younger people, and even in some younger people might even use shame as a tool to keep control of their parents or some elderly people in their house. So for everything, if you are shamed in a house, it simply means that shame and honor and all these things, they're linked to ego. So people, when they're having a lot of narcissistic people in their life, you will listen to a lot of these language like shame and moralities and honor. No, I'm not saying that all these things are not required, but then everything should be in its limits, and this should not be used to judge people, to punish people, and to control people. It should not be used for evil means. So what happens is, when we have low self-worth or low self-esteem for that matter, we will easily go into shame. Who generally has a low self-esteem or low self-worth is generally when you're in the awakening process and when the Swadistana Chakra is cleansing out, you will experience times and memories where you have had so low self-esteem. So we all are in the process, we all are trying to correct various things within us, especially when the process starts. A lot of activities happening in the Swadhisthana Chakra, and here we are trying to correct our self-worth issues. We don't have a proper relationship with ourselves at the beginning of the relationship, but as we progress in the spiritual path, we are correcting our relationship with ourselves. So when we are correcting ourselves, our self-worth issues, our self-esteem issues are resolved, and we gain more confidence because we know who we are. So in the process, when you're moving from one level to the next level, you are defining yourself, and then again you're deconstructing the ego, and then again redefining yourself. In this way, you are creating, or rather you are destroying the various ego structures that defined you at a lower level. Now you are moving more towards your authenticity. So what happens here is, the more and more you get aligned to your inner truth and authenticity, your self-worth and self-esteem will be high, because your inner, the soul inside of you is burning bright with light, with the divine light. When we are undergoing the process, we don't know who we are. The process is about knowing who we are. So when we don't know who we are, others can confuse us, others can try to impose their faulty ideas upon us and call us bad. So we might accept others' ideas about us because we don't know who we are. But when the soul of the light is increasing, we get to see who we are. And now others cannot define our value. We become independent here. We are no longer bothered about pleasing others, or we are no longer bothered about others judging us, blaming us, shaming us. We don't respond to these things. We can look straight into the eye of somebody who's trying to shame you, and you can talk very straight with that person, and your approach will be so straight that the person who's trying to shame you will get ashamed of their behavior. And the reason for that is, generally people who want to pull others down in vibration, shame them, are the narcissistic tendency people. They generally do this more. And the narcissistic tendency people don't have a proper self-esteem. They don't have a sense of self. They have more darkness inside of them. So they are more prone to shame. They can get easily shamed. So when they come face to face with a very spiritually evolved soul, and they're trying to control the spiritually evolved soul through shame, the person who spiritually evolved does not budge. They don't feel any shame because their inner light is burning so bright. What is shame? Shame is lack of light. Simple. When we lack divine light, it is a lack, a kind of an emptiness inside, a dark emptiness. When the soul of the person is burning bright with light because of sadhana, because of the high vibration, that keeps that person at a higher state where they no longer feel ashamed, because shame is again linked to the physical body. It is linked to your emotions. And this person who has reached a higher point in the spiritual evolution has taken away those layers. Those layers are not there on that person anymore, and they're not getting into any programming or conditioning. Hence, they don't feel shamed. They don't bother about praise and they don't bother about ridicule. Both are the same for such a person, and such a person has overcome shame. That means their Swadhisthana chakra is totally cleansed. They have a good connection with themselves and nobody around them can manipulate them. They are free souls. So this is where the process takes each one of us. So when we don't know ourselves, we don't see ourselves as the light of God, or when we don't understand boundaries, we are allowing everybody to step into our personal zone, and we are allowing others to take advantage of us, manipulate us, define us. We lack proper boundaries. That also can lead to shame. When you are not honoring the sanctity or the sacredness of your body and mind, where, for example, a person becomes a people pleaser just to fit into a group because he feels that he will be stigmatized and he will be a social pariah if he does not do it, where you are trying to compromise on your authenticity just to be part of a group which is of lower vibration state. Many people party, and when you say party, there are a lot of people who are coming to that party, and most of them are lower vibrational state, and the person who's of the lowest vibrational state in that group will decide the overall vibration of that group. So when you go to such a place, and so that you can fit into that group, so that people accept you, when you are not in touch with your authenticity, you're allowing it, at least for a few minutes, you think, okay, let me just have a good time, keep my authenticity, everything outside there. You don't like gossip, but you put up with it. You don't like certain things, what people do, what people say. You're able to see it, but you still put up with it because you don't want to be alone. Fear of being alone. Then what happens? That leads to shame, because here you are not honoring your inner sacredness or the sanctity that is coming on to you because of the spiritual evolution process. You can feel shame when our boundaries are challenged. For some people, existence itself is shame. They're so ashamed of their existence that nobody needs to do anything to them. Their very existence causes them shame. And many such people actually undergo the process. They find it very difficult to see themselves as the divine light because they see that their very existence is shameful. And many are in disbelief when the process happens to them, and in a way they resist the process because once you get identified as something, you want that to be your predominant truth. And especially such people have had who have had narcissistic parents, where they were seen as a burden, they were ridiculed, they were shamed for various reasons, and they felt, I should have never been born, I should have never have existed. Such thoughts, they can have a crippling effect on the way the person perceives themselves, the self-image that they are creating for themselves. And this self-image is cut away from their authenticity, and that is why it pains them even more. Always remember that if there is something that triggers you, that pains you, that troubles you, that shames you, all that is coming from lack of authenticity. That is an egoic structure. It is not the truth. it is something that we are accepting because in that situation where we are and how much we understand life, our level of vibration, it is like it is real, but it is not. All these things are just egoic structures and nothing more than that. Your true self, your authenticity is the divine light. And as long as you don't forget this, or as long as you have this inner knowing and understanding, no matter, maybe the entire world will stand against you and try to shame you, you will not feel shame at all, because you're standing in your inner light. The spirit is very strong inside of you. And in this process, we become strong spirits. Only a strong spirit can finish the process, as simple as that. Because you're only aligning with your inner truth and not what the world wants you to think you are. You are not subscribing to social norms. You're not subscribing to conditioning, family programming. You will not allow others to decide your value. Simple as that. You stand in your own light. And if you're not there yet, the process will take you there. And many a times in the process, we are trying to balance, we have this authentic side of us, and then we have the ego that is coming out. The ego wants to build an image that it is great, or that it is very pious, or it is, the victim. The ego is always wanting to create an image, whereas the authenticity is telling whatever is right, that is getting expressed through the authenticity. So in the process, we might swing into this mode and this mode once in a while. That happens. And maybe, uh, just to fit in, or just, for some reason, you just say a simple white lie. For example, somebody offers you a drink, and you say, I don't want to drink. Maybe you are drinking once in a while, but there, you already told everybody that you're spiritually awakening. You have cut down on your intake, and you are actually on the way out of this addiction. Maybe, if you can't sort of hold on to the urge is pulling you down, maybe you just have a sip so that you can think straight. But say somebody saw that, and when you make an open statement that I gave up drinking, the other person might say, no, I saw you drinking the other day, you're lying. Immediately you will experience deep shame, because here somebody has called out and they said that you are inauthentic. So when the swinging is happening back and forth, where you're swinging from your authenticity into inauthenticity, because here you're still trying to create an image for yourself. So whenever you're trying to create an image for yourself, when you're in the spiritual awakening process, you're trying to define yourself as something, you will get hit by somebody who will shame you for redefining yourself. Because where you are in the process, there is no need for you to define yourself in a particular way so that you have to build an image for yourself. So here, many a times in the process, you will be publicly shamed. Expect it. When you expect things to happen to you, it will still hit you hard, but then you were prepared for it. And why do we have to go through shame in the process? When we overcome a certain negative aspect within us, we are tested to see whether it is working or not. For example, you designed a new computer, or maybe you designed a new machine. Now, to see whether the machine is working or not, you are going to run tests on it, the most rigorous tests. And every time the test is conducted on that machine, the machine should give you a positive outcome. Then it is ready for market rollout. In the same way, when we are undergoing the process, where we are dealing with shame, because Swadhisthana chakra is about, generally, mostly it is about shame, jealousy, lust, addictions. All these come into Swadhisthana chakra, and shame is the core emotion of Swadhisthana chakra. They are tests that are conducted by the universe, by the gurus, to see how much you have overcome your shame. And so you will face situations where you're publicly humiliated, where there's the group who thinks they're very big in image. Suddenly, the carpet is just pulled away from beneath your feet and then you fall down. People are so ashamed of every small thing. When they fall down and others laugh, they can't even take that. Even that small falling down causes severe shame. So you have to understand how inbuilt shame is in our system, and hence to understand whether we have overcome this in the process or not, we will be put through tests to check whether our system is still holding shame or not, or if we have understood to process shame correctly or not. Then shame can come when we compare ourselves with others. So when we are in competition with others, somebody has bought a bigger car, we might feel ashamed that we have not done so well in life. That is another cause for shame, and that is the most common cause for shame nowadays. So when we are more relying on others' opinion of us, when we are conforming to the societal rules on right and wrong, especially around stigma, honor, all these things, and then the social sanctions that come with it. And if you are the one who stands in front and shouts and talks about these things, very common thing I've seen many people talking about is how women dress, what clothes women should wear. All these comments are coming from people who are they are rooted in shame. You cannot decide somebody's sacredness based on their clothes. For example, okay, people might wear clothes based on certain motives, I won't deny that. But there are people who don't care much about clothes or how they dress because they're very confident about themselves. For example, in India, yogis, the many yogis, especially the ones who are not, you can't see them in cities and towns. You will see them deep in jungles where nobody comes, and many of them, they wander naked. It is not because they are doing a display of their body. It is not that. The reason why they don't wear clothes is because they don't feel any shame. These people are so evolved, their Swadhisthana chakra is cleansed out. They don't live within the sanctions of the society. They don't put others to shame, and hence they don't feel ashamed of themselves. People who generally have high self-worth, they do not insult others. They don't put others to shame. When you don't put others to shame, you are not worried about others shaming you. Or even if others shame you, you don't care, because you understand from where that person comes from. You know that they are rooted in shame, and that is a lower vibrational state, and those people have no control over you. And hence, even when we see such people, we do namaste to them. We don't feel like, they're doing a body show and all those things. Because you can see the sacredness in that person. They're like children. They're innocent and sacred. Social norms don't mean anything to them. They've gone beyond all those things. There was a saint in south of India, in Sri Sailam forests. Her name was Akka Mahadevi. This lady did 100 years of penance in a cave, and she was a very enlightened being, a saint. Her name, even after many hundreds of years, is still taken with great respect. And this lady overcame shame to the extent where, being a woman, she would not wear clothes. She had long hair, so she would just leave her hair on the body, and she would wander naked in forests. People would sometimes wonder how come a woman wander naked like this. But nothing affected her. She was in her own world. Now, I'm not saying that we all have to go to that level, but then please understand the concept of shame and how it is linked to your inner light. The more your inner light, the more sacredness that is filling your system, the more you're connected to it, the more authentic you are, shame does not affect you. You have no fear of being ridiculed, you have no fear of loss, you have no fear of being judged, and you have no fear of, or you don't feel the pressure to fit into a group. Generally, people who have overcome shame and who live in their light, they don't like to be in groups because a group setup will take away their inner light. They understand that. These people are basically loners, and they don't need anybody in their life because the light within them is so huge. They are basking in their own light. They don't need any extra person in their life to show them light or to give them some comfort. They don't care about all those things. Now, why do we experience shame? Why at all do we need to go through it? We are ruled by the qualities of the chakras. Every chakra has petals. We have 7 chakras. We all are familiar with it. We have many more chakras, but the common chakras that everybody talks of are the 7 chakras. Now, every chakra has petals. We all are aware of it. And these petals, they have qualities. Greed, anger, lust, pain, shame, gentleness, temperance, courage, kindness. These are all qualities of your chakras, the petals of your chakras. And hence we are capable of all these qualities. We are capable of experiencing all these things inside of us because your subtle system is designed like that. So please understand, your anger is not your anger, your shame is not your shame. It is the quality of the petal in your chakra system. In the process, when we reach higher states of evolution, the chakras are cleansed. When the chakras are cleansed, the power of these negative chakras over us, the power of it is, it's sort of exhumed, it is removed, it is gone. And when that goes away, you no longer feel shame or anger or grudge. You don't feel it. Because those chakras have become they have released away all the debris that is there inside of it. And they are not as active as they were at the beginning of a spiritual evolution. So what happens here is, because the chakras have cleansed out totally, you don't experience those things. So with this itself, you will understand that the pain, the shame, everything that you experience is not your emotion. It comes from the chakra. As long as the chakra is active, you will experience it. Once the chakra loses its power over you because of the spiritual evolution, you no longer experience it. So to start with, these emotions were not your emotions. Because we identify with the body and mind, we think it is me who is experiencing this shame, this pain, this grief. No, it is not you. It is the lower egoic construct which is inauthentic, that does not know what it is and what it is not. That is the one that is experiencing all these things. In the process, when we define and redefine ourselves, we understand that we are not many things. We understand we are not the physical body. We understand we are not the emotions. We understand we are not the thoughts. We are not the stories. We are not the victim. And with that understanding comes a release. A release from all these lower conscious emotions and states. So we can experience shame based on our past experiences, reliving those experiences. We can experience shame as a very strong emotion inside of us. And this emotion of shame is very debilitating. It crushes our soul. It crushes our soul because it is lack. It is a kind of lack. And the lack comes from lack of sacredness. When somebody is trying to shame you, they are trying to snatch away your sacredness. And they want to pull you down, and they want you to identify with the body. They want you to identify with the mind. They're refusing to see your inner authenticity, the inner sacredness, the light you carry. Because these people are not capable of seeing it. When somebody is a dark soul, the dark soul cannot, they will know that this person has something which they do not have, and that causes immense envy in that person. And they will try to take it away, and they do it by controlling, by abusing, by insulting, by shaming, by blaming, by guilt tripping, by emotionally blackmailing, various ways. And then shame can exist even as imagination. Even if things are not happening in your life, some people will sit down in their living room and then start, imagining scenarios where maybe their friend might insult them. Even without the incident happening, we are imagining things that somebody will insult us for something. That is also a kind of, self-shaming. Shaming in a way is self-hatred. You're not able to accept yourself completely. And because you cannot accept yourself completely, you have low self-esteem. In the process, what happens is when the subconscious mind opens up, a lot of things that are there repressed, which we generally do not talk about, things which will spoil our image. Everybody is always trying to project a good image about themselves. So when these things are coming out, and when you have to stand back and see that you hold a lot of these things inside of you, it is very difficult. Because, generally many people define themselves as a good person. And when they see there's so much of things inside of them which contradicts their idea about themselves, it can shake the very foundation on which they're standing. It needs a lot of courage to look within and to see what is, the shadow, what your shadow carries in the form of, motives, in the form of ideas where you want to, you want to pull somebody down, or you're in a lot of competition, there's a lot of envy, jealousy, all these things. We find it difficult. Yes, we do accept it when after a point we have to accept this. But then there are two things you have to understand here. One is the image, and the other thing is the authenticity. The authenticity does not care about your reputation. It does not care about your image. It only cares for the truth. Whereas everything that is linked to the image, the false self, we since birth, we are given a name. Our family tells us that you're something. They're creating an image about us. As we grow up, we take on some more things, we identify with few more things. So the false image is getting reinforced, it is getting redefined, and now we are believing that we are the image. And the image is all about looking good. The image has a reputation. So we spend our entire energy of our life in being in others' good books and in protecting our reputation, nothing more than that. This is how people generally live their life. They become people pleasers for it. They want to fit into a group, or they want to control how others think about themselves. You're always worried, what will the other person think of me? You're worried that you'll get judged. Yes, resentment also. When somebody does not uh, think of you in a particular way, it causes resentment because the way they think of you is not matching with your image of the self that you have created. So all this is a burden on you. If you really realize how much of weight you're carrying on your shoulders, on your head, if you could just throw that aside, and when we align with our authenticity, we realize that we don't fit in groups anymore. Others cannot judge us. Our way of thinking is different. Most of your thoughts are not coming from societal conditioning, from the the reality which lives in fear, or you have to do something constantly, you have to prove you are rich, you have to prove you are beautiful. All these things, they are no longer part of your life. When that happens, the shift, automatically you prefer to live by yourself. You are no longer interested in mingling with people. And even if you go somewhere, you feel like your energy is getting drained because you are of higher vibration, and then because people around you are not of your vibration, and the energy moves from a higher level to lower level. So what happens is you feel weak when you go to participate in social activities. So many people who are spiritually evolving at a higher point, they want to be alone. And this need to be alone is because, not because, this is a kind of a punishment. No, this is a kind of a joy. There's so much of light inside of them that they have no fear of being alone. People who are with inner darkness, they need company. They have the fear of being alone. To be alone, they get frightened. But people who are very enlightened, aloneness feels like a gift. Their aloneness does not cause fear. They enjoy it. And they have meaningful activities to fill it. So what shame actually is, if I have to define it correctly, it is just the lack of inner light, nothing more than that. That lack is shame. When we lack something, we feel ashamed. For example, when your friend scores more marks and you see that you lack, when you sort of compare with him, and then you see that you're lacking in the qualifications, you feel ashamed. So it is just lack, nothing more than that. Any kind of lack is shame. And this lack is linked to most of it, you see what it is linked to. It is linked to the false ego. It is not linked to your authenticity. This lack is with regard to material things, with regard to your personal value, with regard to your qualifications, your status. This lack is all with regard to that, which is all the false. Your authenticity, it does not need all that. And when you realize that and you choose your authenticity over all these false constructs where you're worried about what others are thinking of me, you're worried about I'm losing out in competition with others, I'm not very well qualified, I am not so intelligent, I don't have money, I am the victim, whatever reasons, all are part of the false construct. So in the process, you will experience shame many times as test, as part of the evolution process. When your chakra petals are getting cleansed, you will experience shame. But when in that moment you realize that the shame is just showing to you what is false inside of you, it is not showing your true authentic nature. Understand that, please. This is showing you the false aspect that you're carrying inside of you, which is a burden. Release it, let it go. Tell yourself, I am not this. I am the light of the divine. I am sacred. And that is my authenticity. And my authenticity does not need the false image. When somebody is not bothered about image, they're living life correctly and hence they don't care about reputation. Now when I say don't care about reputation, I'm not talking about people who do wrong things. Somebody is stealing from somebody and they say I don't care about my reputation. No, that is shamelessness. When you're doing the right things, when you're living from your authenticity, you always live correctly. And when you're living correctly, and then because you're living correctly, others' opinions don't matter to you. And this does not come from shamelessness. This comes from a deep inner knowing of what you are. So others cannot, sort of gauge you, or they cannot sort of put a value to you. You decide your value, and your value is the light of the divine. So when you describe yourself as sacred, as light of divine, you will see that there is no lack inside of you. It is the misalignment from this truth that causes shame. Just understand that simple logic. The truth is that you are the light of divine, and any misalignment from this idea is shame. So whenever you feel ashamed of yourself, just understand you're just out of alignment. Come back into alignment and the shame vanishes. See, generally what happens is when we are growing up, and when we are growing up in midst of family members who have motives to control you, they have motives to torment you, to abuse you. Such people, when they are in your life, they will always call you bad. You can only trouble somebody because they are bad. Say for example, if there is a dog, when you go and hit a dog, innocent dog, everybody will scold that person who's hitting that innocent dog. But when we brand that dog as a mad dog, and that dog is biting everybody, and then when you say that, and when you throw a rock on that dog, nobody will stop you because they think that the dog deserves it. Shame causes too much anger and resentment. Yes, see, anger is part of the process, and shame is linked to anger because anger is telling you that you are not your boundaries are not right. You have to reshape your boundaries. Anger gets repressed and stays in our system when we don't know how to set proper boundaries. Simple. When you know how to set proper boundaries, the anger vanishes. And the shame that has come because you could not set the right boundaries, that shame also vanishes along with that. So here it is just resetting boundaries. So people generally who think of abusing you, they have motives. They will already brand you as a bad person. And they can even do it subtly by calling themselves a good person. For example, you're getting into a relationship, your boyfriend or your girlfriend is constantly saying, I am a good person, I am a good person. They're indirectly telling you that in the relationship they are the good person. That means you are the bad person. But in the beginning, we will miss out on these red flags. When you're deep into the relationship, then the person will tell you that you are a bad person. After a conflict, they will say, you are a bad person. And the reason they say this to you is because they want you to think the same about yourself. Because when you think you're bad, when you think you are in a way damaged, you will allow somebody else to control you. You will allow somebody else's perception to influence your idea about yourself. So here you're getting more into the image thing, but here the image is a negative image. So when you have such people since childhood in your life, your friends, your relatives, your parents, so what happens here is, I'll take the questions at the last because it will divert me away from what I'm talking. So here your sense of self-image it gets created. Yes, it is ingrained. Yes, they're brought up like that. So people generally who have a lot of strong sense of shame. See, you have to understand two things here. One is people with lot of sense of shame. They are narcissistic people, also have a lot of sense of shame, and these are the people who control and get controlled by others. They understand the game because they use shame as a tool to control others. When you are an innocent person and when you really don't know yourself and others around you want to manipulate you, they can control you with shame. Apart from that, if you are a star seed, if you are born from other higher realms, these people, the major hurdle they have to cross in their life is either shame or addictions or coming out of lower egoic attachments and love. So these are the main lessons for these people to overcome when they are born on life. When your main lesson to learn in life is overcoming shame, right from the childhood you will be subjected to shame. That will become the major theme in your life. Whatever is the major theme in your life, that is the thing that you need to heal in this lifetime. Please understand that. The same thing will come back to you so that you know that this is the major hurdle I need to cross in my life. When we are awakening in the process also, we feel ashamed of our darker aspects, because now, see, for a normal person, the darker aspect, subconscious mind is not open. Everything is repressed in the subconscious mind. Because the darker aspects are not coming out, they think they're very nice. But in the awakening process, what is happening? The darker aspects are coming out. You're able to see how much darkness you're holding inside of you, and that can also cause shame. Your attachments, your attractions, it can be sexual in nature, it could be things which you're not very proud about. It could be your past relationships, it could be some things that you have done which are repressed. And all these things will start flashing back, they're coming back to you because you need to resolve them. And that is why here, once the inner darkness is coming out, it needs a high level of divine connection or a high level of vibration to know that you hold the dark and the light inside of you. And the process is about integrating both these things together. To understand this thing, you should be established in a very high spiritual vibration. That will come later in the process. So generally people whose soul is not very well developed. I always talk about the soul. The soul is here. So when somebody is a newborn soul, that is they don't have many lifetimes of experience on earth, their soul is not very well developed. They live from the level of the lower chakras. So what happens is their soul is not very well developed, and hence they are not sure about themselves, they don't know themselves, they just take on group behaviors, they do what everybody is doing around them. They don't have a strong sense of self, and they have darkness inside of them. That's why they feel lost very often. And many people who have personality disorders like narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, these people, they have a lot of inner darkness. They are totally cut away from their inner divinity. So here your typical traits you will see in them as ego aggrandizement. They follow trends. They don't have their own truth, so they have to follow others. They try to fit in, or they try, and the kind of groups they are in, there's a lot of cruelty in those groups. There are a lot of addictions in those groups. And basically they're cruel. They don't question the cruel things that their ancestors did. They subscribe to group behaviors which are inhuman also. And they are very fearful. They use fear as a tool. They're very aggressive. So all these people, they are cut away from their inner light. And all these people with personality disorders, they experience a lot of shame. So much shame that when they get shamed, they take years and years and years to come out of it. Or on the other side, they can be very shameless also. If they need something from somebody, they can be extremely shameless also. So typically, they feel a lot of shame because they're cut away from light. And such people are the ones who want to control others. Because they see, if you don't have light inside of you, you cannot recognize divine light in others. You cannot see others as the embodiment of the divine, and hence you want to control their life. You want to ridicule them, you want to judge them, you want to hurt them. So typically in our society, shaming happens in many ways, like gossips, rumors, public shaming, insults, aggressive behaviors, maligning reputation, all these things. When you're very strong in spirit, all these things, yes, yes, Sanjana Iyer. Shame is an amazing tool in the hands of narcissists, and they use it because it works. It works on them, and when it, because they are ashamed themselves, they try to use it as a tool on others. And when they're dealing with spiritually evolved people and they try to use shame as a tool, the other person does not get ashamed. They are in a state of shock. They don't understand the person who cannot experience shame. They cannot experience shame. This person has no control over them. They fear such a person. So why do we experience tests in the process? When we are moving from one spiritual vibration to the next spiritual vibration, you don't go like that. You need to qualify for that. For example, you're in school. If you finish your 4th grade, you need to go to 5th grade. You're given an examination, a test which you need to pass. If you don't pass, you will not go to the next grade. In the same way, when you're moving from one vibration level to the next vibration level, you are given tests. A test here are tests, but here you're not aware that you're undergoing a test. You are just put in midst of people and you are just shamed. The more intense the process, the more these experiences will come in the person's life. Such shameful experiences where somebody will just maybe run, hide somewhere, and they will not come out and show their face to anybody for years together. That is the kind of shaming they experience. And these are tests in the process. When you stand in your light in such tests, and you always tell yourself in such a situation that you are the divine light and you are not what others think of you, when you are able to stand in that light, you move to the next level, and all these things get wiped away. And the reason why I say all these things get wiped away is because the people you see, the opinions, the words they say, the thoughts, the emotions, the behaviors are nothing more than the flow of prana. At a higher level, it is just prana. For example, you're standing in front of a river, Ganges, or some river which is there in your country. You look at the river, you'll see the water is continuously flowing. The water drop which you saw now, you will not see it again. Another water drop will come in its place, and that's also flowing away. So if you take this flowing water and you make it more and more denser, it becomes ideas, it becomes opinions, it becomes reality, it becomes people, it becomes situation, it becomes emotions, it becomes experiences, and then you'll see an entire drama unfolding there where that person gets shamed. But when the person is standing in their personal light, they will see all these events just like the flow of water. And nothing more than the flow of water. The flow of water has gone, it will go away, that's all. When you stand in your light, it just flows away. Understand that. It does not affect you. And when it does not affect you, nobody is interested in talking about it. It is gone. It is that simple to overcome. Or you have to speak your authentic truth. That's it. It's gone. It is as simple as that to counter somebody when they are attacking you by shaming you. When you have light inside of you, when you understand that you're the divine light, you know yourself, you know what you are, and you know what you are not. I felt those phases as ego death. Yes, exactly, Satya. So, you know what you are and you know what you are not. When you know what you are and what you are not, others cannot play games with you. Nobody can shame you. You're a powerful person. Let the entire world stand and call you bad. You will not budge. You will not care. You will not look that same. That is the kind of self-worth you have. And this comes when the Swadistana Chakra is totally cleansed. Very strong in spirit. Somebody wants to shame you, they come to ridicule you and shame you. And when you speak your authenticity, they will feel that shame. Because what they were trying to hurl in your direction, they're trying to hit you with that stone of shame. That stone falls on them when you stand in your authenticity. Don't ever explain yourself to somebody. When you explain yourself to somebody, you are allowing them, you're reinforcing their story about you, and you're giving them the power to judge you. Never ever do that. When you don't explain yourself, you don't have to explain yourself to somebody when you're authentic. And the thing that is explaining things to other is the false self. Understand that. Stand in your power. First, understand your power. So don't ever let anybody else define you. When you question norms, when you understand what you're subscribing to, what you're not subscribing to, where you're trying to compromise on your authenticity to fit in, where your integrity is faltering, when you understand all these things, now you know what you are. And never ever subscribe to group behavior. When you subscribe to group behavior, you're taking on a false identity. Once you start redefining yourself and understanding yourself through your inner search of truth, you start healing. Even past memories where somebody pulled you down in consciousness, all those memories will lose their hold over you. And at a very higher point in evolution, you will not feel shame. At the beginning stages, it is difficult because that emotional control is still not there. Part of the spiritual evolution, the very first part, we are dealing with a lot of. I used to worry about my image. Experience made me less attached to people's opinions. Yes, Satya, sure. That is the right way to live your life. The less you are concerned about what people think of you, the more free you are. You are able to express your authenticity. We all are born different. See, let me put it this way. We all are born on earth, but we think we are like a family. We try to fit in with our family because we think we are one of them. But then if you look at our spiritual nature, you will notice that in that family of birds, maybe one bird was a crow, one bird was a parrot, one bird was an owl, and maybe one was an eagle. Now the eagle is trying to control and tell everybody else that all of them are eagles. We try to live like an eagle because we were told that we are an eagle. Or maybe all the members are an eagle, but you are a parrot. But then you are a parrot which is trying to live like an eagle. It is so much of a burden to live like that. At one point in evolution, you realize you're a parrot and you're not the eagle. And that gives you immense freedom. Now you are able to understand yourself. Now you are able to see your inner light. Siddhesh, Goankar, ma'am, I see lots of orbs. Okay, so what happens here is the Swadhisthana Chakra, it produces a hormone called serotonin. And the serotonin is linked to your self-worth. When you're confident, when you're holding more light, high serotonin is produced in the body. And serotonin increases more when we are, in the daylight outside. Serotonin is more. Many people, generally the ones who have addictions, they sleep through the day and they're awake in the night. And these people, they suffer from addictions, attachments, and they have a lot of emotional issues, psychological issues. But when you look at people who wake up early in the morning and they spend their daytime out working in the sun, you will see that they're emotionally more stronger. That is because more serotonin is getting produced in their body. Working in nature makes them happy. They're so happy and content with small, small things in life. They have fewer addictions, fewer attachments, they feel self sufficient. That is the effect of the sun rays on our body. So, when we are an evolved soul, we don't use shame as a tool to control others, and we don't let others to control us through shame. So many a times what happens is this shame gets mingled up with other emotions like anger, guilt, pain, and all this negativity is again self-directed. So shame is something where you are directing it towards yourself. Understand that. That is why it is very painful. When we are angry, we might direct that anger onto somebody else who is outside. We might rebuke somebody. When we are jealous of somebody, their achievements, then it is outward directed towards that person. Most of these negative emotions are outward directed. But shame is something which is inward directed. Your entire focus is on yourself, inward. And the focus which you are putting on yourself is that you are seeing yourself in negative light. That is the problem here. Where our focus goes, our energy goes. And when you're awakening in the process, you're holding more light, your ability to influence vibrational level is high. And when you are redirecting your power onto yourself, and that too in a negative way, it will impact you more. And that too in an awakening process here, your hormonal fluctuation is very high. It is not like in a normal person's body. You will experience extremities of all emotions. Anger will be a one level, high level anger. Pain will be experienced full on. Your shame also, it will be so crushing. It will be soul crushing pain and shame that somebody will experience in the awakening process. Because here you're directing your entire energies towards yourself and you are seeing yourself in negative light. Yes, Satya, it is important to protect your energy by having boundaries. When you are seeing that people around you do not have good motives, people when they don't have good intentions, sorry, not motives, when they don't have good intentions towards others, especially you, they have motives, then it is always advisable to keep that person away from your life. Because when you let that person into your life, they will only try to pull you down in consciousness. So when we are looking ourselves in negative light, we believe we are bad, we are not worthy enough. What happens is we believe others' stories about us. When we are in shame, we believe everything others tell about us, especially the negative things. If somebody is telling you you're a bad person, and when you are feeling a lot of shame, you will accept that you are a bad person. So what is happening here? You're creating a false sense of self. Shame is very, very, tricky here. Even if you have cleared away a lot of the inner baggage, shame will again allow you to create more baggage. Because especially when you are locked in midst of toxic people who want to define you in the wrong way, and you are already seeing yourself in this darkness of shame, you have low self-esteem, you will believe anything anybody will say about you, especially the negative things. We don't care about self-care here now. Self-care has gone because now you don't value yourself. You don't think you're worthy of things, worthy of affection, worthy of self-care and attention. worthy of healing. So here your personal needs, you just push them away because you don't see yourself as a worthy soul. You allow others to define you. You will allow others to abuse you because you are low self-worth. You no longer trust yourself. Many people can get suicidal, especially when they go into very, very, very low vibrational states. Because what is happening is, the more lower we are falling in vibration here, we are identifying with the false construct. We are away from the source, totally cut away from the source. But when you know your authenticity, when you know you're not the false construct, you are the light of the divine, you are sacred. When you understand this, authenticity, it knows no shame. Because authenticity is divine in nature. The divine, the sacred has no shame, and hence they are divine and sacred. It is the light, and the light, it knows itself. And it is the light that recognizes the falsity of the ego. You need the light to recognize the false. When we are in the process, when you are self-inquiring, we want to understand our authenticity. Many do sadhana here. When we're engaging in sadhana, the shift is happening inside. And the shift is happening from the inauthenticity towards light. And when the shift is happening, your quest for the truth, for your authenticity, it allows you to disengage from anything that is false. So sadhana, self-awareness, search for truth, it increases the personal light. And with increased personal light, you have increased courage. Somebody just put a message that, they lack the courage to stand up to people who are troubling them or controlling them. When you have low self-esteem, you will not have courage. And lack of courage is just identifying with the false construct. How will people control you? They will control you by creating a false image of you. They're telling you you're a bad person, you need to be controlled, you need to be abused, this is how you have to live. They are defining your life for you. So this is a false construct, and when you accept it, Siddesh Gong, I've stopped interacting with people when I realized that I was going through it. I couldn't read the entire message. I'll read the messages at the end of the video so that I have the time. But I guess you all are understanding what I am saying. So when we know ourselves and we know ourselves as light, we no longer feel ashamed. Once we understand what is authentic within us, we start healing. Or healing goes hand in hand with your authenticity. It happens simultaneously. Because we are healing, we are able to process emotions correctly. We are able to understand the toxic people in our life. We are able to identify them. Now we don't, sort of subscribe to their stories. You understand yourself at a point. We deal with our pain constructively. We express, we talk about our pain. When we don't know our authenticity, we believe the stories that have been told to us. We don't talk about our pain, and hence we cannot heal. When we are able to identify the truth from the untruth, and you realize that other stories do not define you, you have redefined yourself, you have healed. Now you are able to talk about what has happened to you. And when you're talking here, at a point you will not feel ashamed to talk about what happened with you. when you reach that point, it simply means that you have overcome shame. So, as part of the process, you have to make choices about whom you want to spend your time with, and the places you will go to and the places you will avoid, because some people and places just pull you into lower vibration. Now, some truths you have to understand is people around you will not change, you have to change. When somebody's nature is troubling others, they will, or somebody's nature is to create conflicts, they will live their entire life like that. Whenever you go into their zone, you will experience conflict. So understand that people will not change. You have to change. Understand that there is no point in holding grudge. When you're holding grudge, it simply means you are not allowing the pain to get processed. When you understand that you are the light of the divine, then all grudges will fall away, because the grudges are of lower vibration state. And when you see that you're the light of the divine, you have the ability to forgive, and hence the grudges go away. When especially you're in this situation in life where you're experiencing a lot of shame, do not socialize, because that can, in a way, that will actually increase the sense of shame. Please try to be in an alone state when you experience shame, so that you can understand what is causing it. What dysfunctional idea within you is causing that? What is making you cut away from the idea that you are the divine light? So that you understand what behaviors to correct inside of you, what unnecessary ideas you are carrying inside of you. And when you make those changes, you define your boundaries, the shame goes away. You release the shame. And anger which has come because of shame, or pain which came because of shame, it goes away with the shame. Your reactivity also goes away when the shame goes away. And shame goes away with authenticity. When there is authenticity, there is no shame. Please understand that. And all these incidents that come into your life are directing you towards your authenticity. When you are more aligned towards your authenticity, there is no shame there. Because shame is a false thing. It is an egoic structure. Now we have to understand that when we receive Shakti Path from our Gurus, we are doing sadhana, when we receive Shakti Path from our Gurus, we will experience situations where we will be shamed, because there is shame in our system and that needs to get released. So some external trigger will come into your life just to release the shame that is there inside of you. As long as we are carrying that shame, we cannot progress on the spiritual path. It is a burden, and that burden has to go. So some external event, when it happens, it is very painful. You think that somebody is coming and attacking you for no reason. No, they're coming and attacking you because there is a past karmic connection. And the second thing is, they are, generally what happens is, most lessons for us, they come in the form of pain. And because we are in pain, we can't see the truth of the situation. In the same way, when somebody is coming into our life to release our pain, we get sort of involved in the experience, and we don't understand that this is happening for us to release our shame. But yes, incidents will come into your life, and this is because of Shakti Path, that some things have to come into your life to knock out the negativity inside of you. At least to show you that you are carrying this, and then release it constructively. We cannot transcend with this shame because it is our inner darkness. And the spiritual evolution process is a process which is taking you towards light. So just understand simple words that the shame is nothing more than the lack of light. I'll just log in so that I can read all your questions now. Yes, let me see. Oh, a lot of comments here. I could not read all of them. Nitya, can guilt or shame block throat chakra as well? I started explaining more about myself and listening less to others. Yes. When you are not in alignment with your authenticity, it will create blocks in your throat chakra. Don't ever explain yourself to others, especially when you've done the right thing, because people sometimes purposely they want to call you bad so that they can control you. Understand that. So the more you explain yourself, you are allowing that behavior, their bad behavior to continue. You will, once you start explaining yourself, every time you will be called to give an explanation. So don't explain yourself. When you stop explaining yourself, others will know that they cannot mess with you. Shame causes too much anger. Yeah, I read this already. If we are already shaken by people of narcissists and be there, then how we form boundary? But to spiritual, I lose many things. How can I raise my voice against them? Ankita Sharma ji. See, first thing is understanding psychology, understanding bad behaviors. What you see as good and bad, first you look at the videos on narcissism, on psychopathy, sociopathy, understand these various behaviors. When you gain knowledge about these behaviors and when you see people around you displaying these behaviors, now you're able to recognize their real nature. First, you have to recognize them and you have to recognize how they're manipulating you, how they're trying to control you. I made many videos on psychology, you can see them in the playlist and learn from it. And once you gain knowledge, working knowledge about how these behaviors function, that's it. You can live life without them provoking you or triggering you or controlling you. You know how they will control, you know these people, you know how to deal with them, and if possible just cut them out of your life. If they do not, somebody does not respect your boundaries, don't keep them in your life. Simple. A lot of messages here. Ma'am, why am I seeing, I see at night sky seems like there is much more to sometimes feel scary. uh, Goankar. Yes, night lights and orbs and all these things. See, if you're having a top-down awakening, then more of all of these are possible to see. Generally, people with top-down awakening see these things. Then I have stopped interacting with people when I realized what I was going through. It feels peaceful to be in Plato's cave. Yes, when you're alone, you're peaceful and happy. That's true. Especially when you have light inside of you, light quotient inside of you is increasing. You don't want company. It's simple. You prefer books, you prefer plants, you prefer animal pets, or maybe few genuine relationships in your life. You're not seeking to be part of a group, subscribe to norms. You don't like all those things. Ankita Sharma, but those who use abuse physically. See, Ankita Sharma ji, see, when you are with somebody who's physically abusing you, you have to set boundaries or you have to leave. You cannot stay with that person because they will not respect your boundaries. Please understand that. So, here you have to go, you have to break social norms. Maybe the social norm will say that you have to be with an abusive person because he's your husband, but then you have to voice against it and walk away. As long as you're there, the person will not change. They will keep on abusing you. Understand that. Nitya, how to deal with people with whom you interact on regular basis but are shaming you or trying to shame you. When I stop talking to them, it causes me more problems and I'm losing my peace. So when somebody is purposely shaming you and when it is part of a group, then I think you need to voice your concerns with others. You have to tell that person directly that you don't appreciate their behavior, and then you say it out and let others also know that you have expressed your concern to that person, and your intention is to make things smooth between you and that person, and it is not to disturb the kind of work relationship you have with that person. So generally these people who are trying to shame you, they are worried about their image. So when you are talking about your pain to few others in the office, they'll get worried that their image is getting affected. And when they feel, okay, for example, somebody who's bullying you in the office, you go and talk about it with somebody else, your friend, you go and tell the boss, you sit down, you call that person and have an open talk, they will be so frightened, they will never look in your direction the next time. And you will say this, that you're just doing this to sort out things. This is how you will say it. So they will have no reason to fight you or blame you, and then they have to correct their behavior, and they'll do it only under force. Uh, Better to have predefined boundaries, making sure no one is allowed to cross those boundaries. Yes, Siddesh Kuhankar, you are right. But to have predefined boundaries, you need to know yourself to some extent. Sometimes people, they don't know what they are. When you don't know what you are, you will not have predefined boundaries. It is when they go through certain things in their life, they sort of understand that the boundaries are not there, they reset the boundaries, then they're prepared for the next level where uh, they have predefined boundaries now. But generally, to start with, people do not have, many of them do not have predefined boundaries, and especially when they're undergoing the spiritual awakening process, the brainstem, it is here, the brainstem region gets activated. And when the brainstem region gets activated, we have issues with boundaries. Our boundaries open up and close as part of the process. So when your boundaries are opening up and closing as part of the process, even if you want to have certain boundaries, in certain phases it is practically impossible because of the process. The process will attract certain people into your life who will they will not respect your boundaries, and you will be in a helpless situation where you cannot cut that person out. And this happens because that person has to show you something about yourself which you need to heal. When you have too many closed boundaries, you're not growing and learning. Understand that. When you have too many boundaries around you, very strong boundaries, it will not allow you to grow. So part of the process works in such a way that once in a while the boundaries are wiped out so that you can create new level of boundaries at a higher state. I am not able to forgive people who have shamed me. Though I'm trying to tell myself I'm not this, I keep thinking negative about them, and my system is filled with negativity. Especially, yes, you see, when your sense of self is not well established, when you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you cannot have a good relationship with others. As simple as that. Your foundation for good relationship with others is when you have a good relationship with yourself. So here, before you can think of, forgiving others, you have to learn to forgive yourself. Because sometimes, we blame ourselves for some negativity that happened to us. We are blaming ourselves. As I said earlier, the shame is turning. Our ill will is turning towards us. We are not our well wishers. We are looking at ourselves in negative light. When you are looking at yourself in negative light, how can you forgive somebody else? You will hold grudges. You will hold resentment. You will hold anger. But then trust the process. This is where you need to do sadhana. The sadhana will allow you to do mantra japa or meditation or yoga, whatever it is, your sadhana, your path. the the sadhana we do, it sort of brings a kind of a disidentification with all these things. It takes you to a place where you no longer identify yourself as a victim. When you stop identifying yourself as a victim, you will not see the other person as a perpetrator. And hence, no grudges, no resentment, everything is gone. And that is why we need sadhana, so that the lower self can get conquered or wiped away with the light of the divine. And the more the light of the divine comes, we get more aligned to our inner truth or our authenticity. Pascal, what an amazing subject. Thank you for everything. Welcome, Pascal. Siddesh Goankar. Yes. Shibani Anand, extremely bored after awakening, and then you're healthy. See, generally, when people have too many distractions, every day there's something new, something vibrant, something, what do I say? They are pursuing pleasures, they're experiencing a lot of highs. When you experience a lot of highs, you will experience a lot of lows. So what is happening? Lot of inner fluctuation is happening. When inner fluctuation is happening too much, you will identify with the ego. That is the ego. Whereas the inner light is stable. It is changeless. You're moving away from the ever-changing things inside of you to a more changeless aspect. The journey is inwards. You're becoming more and more changeless in nature. So when you go more and more inner, you will notice that you will not experience this highs and lows which a normal person on a daily basis experiences. When you are not experiencing too many emotional fluctuations, you might feel like you're bored, but then you're actually very healthy emotionally here. And this is the place where you can be very productive. You can create a lot of things. Pascal, my husband keeps telling me what to do and how to behave. He tries to control me all the time, even when I'm driving. He also shoots at me in front of people trying to shame me. Well, see, and then you say, I'm good all the time because I'm into sadhana. See, don't be kind to somebody who is misbehaving with you. You are in a way reinforcing their behavior. When somebody is being unkind to you, they're ill-treating you, you have to tell them that this behavior is inappropriate. You cannot do this with me. Sometimes you have to program people and tell them how they're supposed to behave with you. Not that this programming has some motives. I think maybe programming is not the right word to use. I think you have to set boundaries. This is what you have to do. Set boundaries and tell the other person what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. If you don't tell the other person what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, they will define how they should treat you. And the way they treat you, they're defining you. If they're ill-treating you, it simply means they're defining you as somebody who's low in value, low in self-worth, a bad person, and you need to be treated that way. That is what they're telling you. So don't let anybody define your worth. And speak constructively and tell them that this is not acceptable. You need boundaries. Ma'am, please draw some healthy boundaries. Even if it is the relationship between husband and wife, healthy boundaries should be there. Thank God found you, ma'am. Thank you, Siddesh Gaonkar. Yes. So, any more questions? And any more questions with regard to what I spoke about today? See that the topic is when you experience it, it's a very difficult thing to face emotion, especially like shame, right? But when you really understand what it is, you will find that courage inside of you, or you will gain the working knowledge as to how you can overcome it. Every time you feel shame, just tell yourself, like a chanting, tell yourself, I am the light of God, I am sacred. That is, you're not lying to yourself. That is the eternal truth. That is your truth. Simple. Yes, Satya. When your Swadhisthana chakra cleanses out completely, you will feel no shame whatsoever. And that is why the sign of an enlightened person is they don't feel shame. They are not ashamed of anything because they're constantly living in that truth that they are the light of the divine and nothing else. When this becomes your constant reality every moment, where you know that you are the light of the divine and you hold light, nobody can nothing can shame you. You know, the entire world is standing on one side and they're calling you names, they're calling you a bad person, they're trying to shame you and all those things. You will not look at yourself as a bad person. See, it is not what the other person is saying about me. When the other person is calling me bad, they're judging me for something, as long as I am not looking at myself as a bad person, I can stand and I can set boundaries. But the moment I am looking at myself as a bad person because another person defined me as bad, I am also defining myself as bad, then it becomes difficult. You will really experience deep shame. Never fall into that trap. Shibani Anand. But also feeling anger towards other people for being unconscious. They are unconscious, ma. You can't change others. I just told you that. Don't expect people to change. They will not. And hence they are caught up in cycles of life and death. They did not have the experiences you had. When they reach your level in evolution, their way of thinking will be different. But where they are right now in their evolution, they are right. They are not wrong. They are operating from a level of consciousness, and from that level of consciousness, they are right. At your level of consciousness, you are right. But what is right is again different at different levels of consciousness. So don't expect people to change. It is you who will change and not the people around you. God did it. It's how to handle if people judging me that I know nothing and keep stamping me again, opportunity not giving to speak. Is it my Vishuddhi block to express myself fully? See, there's somebody who's not allowing you to talk and they're judging you constantly. Why are you actually, when somebody around you wants to tell you that you don't know anything, then it is not the right place to talk. For example, I'll give you my own experience. When I did not start the channel, I used to try to talk about these things because it's my nature. The knowledge that I've gained in the process, I used to like to share it, and I used to talk. Others would not understand. They would sort of brush aside what I was saying, okay? And few would think it's show off. But then it was my authenticity. Then I realized that this is not my audience. This is not the place to speak my truth, because this is a low vibrational state. I understood that, and then I stopped talking. I stopped talking because the people around me cannot appreciate what I'm talking. They are not my audience. And that authenticity in this situation is to understand that who is your audience and who is not your audience. And when somebody is not your audience and they don't understand you because they're operating from a different level of consciousness, Even if they call you dumb, they call you stupid, you're not that. Don't let others define what you are. So you just can keep quiet, but you know what you are. You don't need others stamp or others, credits for what you are. When the right platform comes, when the right situation comes, when the midst of the right people, you will start talking, and then everybody will be listening to you. Even those people who brushed you aside, they will also have to stand and acknowledge what you're saying, because everybody else is doing it. So there is a time and place for everything. If you don't understand timing and understand the place, you might think that the problem is with you. It is not blocked Vishuddhi Chakra, it is your inner discretion. You should know where to talk and where not to talk, with whom to talk and whom not to talk to. If there's somebody who's ridiculing you constantly, don't even talk to them. Why are you talking to them in the first place? They don't respect you. These are the people you have to keep away from your life. Even if you speak golden words, they will still ridicule you for that. Understand that. They're not your friends. Satya, prioritizing peace means Swadhisthana chakra cleansing. Yes, you understand that your inner peace is more important than anything else around you. You understand this when you have more light inside of you. You are no longer affected by others' opinions, and you just walk away from this place, from the people, from the situation, because you don't belong there. Vibrational match is not there. And you don't have to make a declaration, I'm going away from here because my vibrational match is not there. You don't care, you don't talk about it, you just quietly walk away, because you have your inner peace, and you value your inner peace over all this nonsense or drama. So yes, the Swadhisthana chakra, because here you are focused more on keeping your peace. Your relationship with yourself is at a very good level here. That's a good sign actually. Shiva, if you don't have the desire to be liked anymore, Shibani ji, that's okay, that's a healthy thing. Satya, not getting affected by shame means, yeah, I think of it. Welcome. Yes, I think, am I receiving any more Sri Devi Parpali? So true, ma'am. I learned the same. The messages are moving so fast, I'm losing track of these messages. Some messages are coming and vanishing. I'm not able to go back to the old messages. Anyways, I missed out on some messages because they're not flashing on the screen here. Okay, God. Can spiritual awakening people go to work, feel lot of stress, and body is not handling outside world, so getting lot of shame due to not catching things faster compared to others. See, as part of the process, you will experience something called the left brain fog. Some part of the process, your left brain, which is supposed to do the logical thinking and all that, is not working at its the optimum level. So here you'll have memory issues, you'll have issues with regard to work, forgetfulness. You can't match, you can't set goals and follow up things, you can't take stress. This is all part of the process. If you can afford a lifestyle without going to work, it is better to take off from work or do something freelance where you don't have to deal with office politics or comparison with others. But if that is not your financial situation, then you will have to continue your work, because at some point However, when the process goes forward, shifts in your working place and the kind of work you do will happen. And they will happen because you will slowly get aligned towards your mission. So automatically also you will come into alignment with your mission at a higher place. Hema, ma'am, out of topic, but please guide meditating while laying down with slow down the process rather than sitting. Hema ji, ma, I'm not much into meditation if you've noticed, because my path is more of mantra chanting and sadhana. Yes, meditation is part of it, but it is not the primary thing, but I'll still try to look into it. See, I've not meditated much in my life. Maybe entire life, maybe I've done 9 or 10 hours of meditation. People think that meditation is the most important thing for undergoing spiritual or Kundalini awakening. Without it, you will not have an awakening. It is totally wrong, and I am the living example for it. So that is why I generally don't talk about meditations. I know what it is. Maybe I'll make videos on meditation a little later, and only those meditations which will actually help you to grow in vibration. Dhriti Shikarji, ma'am, but how do we know that this memory issue, brain fog, is because the process is something else? If the spiritual awakening process is happening in your body, you will have left brain fog. There is no other reason for it. Where even in a small basic mathematical calculations you can't do. Somebody comes and asks you what is 157 plus 26, you will go bonkers, you will not be able to answer that question, which you actually did earlier. Even like small calculations, you will get so confused because you left brain fog. You read something, you turn the page, you will forget what you read. It's like, you again turn the page and again read it, you will still feel like you're reading it the first time. That is the issue with left brain fog, and memory loss is part of the process. Your memory is getting wiped away in this process because this memory is egoic structure. When it is getting wiped away, a lot of these issues come. It is part of the process. But then surprisingly, when you write an exam, you pass an exam. Maybe not in flying colors, but you do pass. And if that is not part of your mission, maybe you don't need it. Naushad Sheikh, ma'am, any yoga poses and breath works for first. I already see, please join my membership. There I have given complete Swadistana Chakra sadhana is there in it. Sandy, hello, namaste. Okay, Sandy's messages for the group. Please read Sandy's message. God edits. Yes, ma'am, I forgot even my name and recollecting and then addressing my friends. Yes. Satya, not relevant here, but want to learn about Kriyas and Mudras if possible. Kriyas and Mudras, yes, I'll make videos on them later. I'm trying to slowly incorporate them into because there's so much information to give, and I'm not able to make so many videos. It's becoming humanly impossible to make or share that knowledge which is there. Mudras and all are a different topic. I will reach there. Dhriti Shekharji, thank you, ma'am. Yes, whatever you said happened exactly. Surprisingly, passed exams despite memory issue. Yes, it happened the same with me also. Fine. So it is getting very delayed, and so I'll take leave, right? And just understand that the only way you will overcome shame is whenever you feel ashamed of yourself. And when you see that you're seeing yourself in negative light, you're getting affected by what others are saying of you, think of yourself as a beam of light. That is an amazing meditation. You just sit in a room and think of yourself like a beam of light. Or you can even visualize the light of God descending on you and that you're turned into light. That is an amazing meditation that you can do here, and stay in that space of light. Do sadhana to increase your auric field. When your auric field is flowing very strongly, you will not be shamed. you will not experience shame. You can repel away such, others' judgments, others' ill will, motives, everything. Your auric field will repel away. I made videos on auric field, and I even spoke about how Hanuman Chalisa will increase your auric field. All these things will help you to protect your light. You have to protect your light in the process. And then later on, boundaries, you define yourself. All these things, they help you to heal, and you become, rather not become, you know what your authenticity is. And everything which is false will go away, and whatever is going away, let it be people, let it be places, let it be relationships, let it be work, let it be material things, let it all go away. If anything is going away because you are becoming more authentic, don't hold on to those things. They are all false things. Right? Okay then. Thank you. Namaste.